The text message from my lawyer wasn't just a message. It was a detonator, and it exploded the entire reality I thought I lived in. It read, "John, do not go to Jessica's for dinner. Call me the second you get this. It's about the trust." My hand, which had been reaching for my car keys, froze in midair. Jessica, my only daughter, had been so insistent about this family dinner. "Dad, it's been months. The kids have made you cards. I'm doing your favorite prime rib and twice-baked potatoes. You can't say no." Her voice on the phone had been layered with a saccharine warmth that, in hindsight, felt performative. But in that moment, it was the sound of a connection I craved. A tether to the family I felt slipping away since my wife, Eleanor, passed from cancer 2 years prior. The emptiness of our 5-bedroom house in San Marino, California, was a physical weight, and the promise of noise and laughter from my grandchildren was a siren's call. But that text from David Chun, my attorney and a man not known to drama, sent a cold, liquid fear into my veins. I abandoned my keys. The grand, empty foyer of my home seemed to echo with a new, sinister silence. I called him back, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. He answered on the first ring. "John, where are you?" "Home." "David, what the hell is going on?" "You're scaring me." "Good, be scared. Then be angry." "Stay right there." "I'm 10 minutes away. What I have to show you, you need to see in person." Those 10 minutes felt like an eternity. I paced the Persian rug in my study, past the floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Eleanor had curated and the framed photographs of a life that now seemed like a beautiful lie. There was Jessica, age 7, grinning with a missing front tooth on my shoulders. There she was in her Stanford cap and gown, beaming with a future so bright it hurt to look at. How could a trust the one Eleanor and I had, meticulously built to secure her, future be a problem? David arrived, his expression grim. He didn't bother with pleasantries. He set his leather briefcase on my oak desk, the click of the latches unnaturally loud in the quiet room. "John," he began, his voice low and steady. "3 days ago, Jessica and Brian filed a petition in Los Angeles County Superior Court." He paused, letting the weight of the institution's name hang in the air. "They are petitioning for conservatorship over you and your estate." The word hit me with the force of a physical blow. "Conservatorship?" "David, I'm 70, not senile. I sit on the board of 2 charities. I manage a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio." "This is absurd." "Is it?" David slid a single sheet of paper across the desk. It was a summary of my assets. The San Marino property, $4.2 million. The investment portfolio, $3.5 million. Various trusts, bonds, and liquid assets, another $2 million. "This is why, John. It's always about the why." He opened his laptop. Jessica and Brian's tech startup, the one they poured their savings into, collapsed 6 months ago. They're facing personal guarantees on business, loans to the tune of $1.5 million. Their house in Pacific Palisades is leveraged to the hilt. They are drowning, and they see your estate as the only life raft. My mind reeled. I knew they'd had setbacks, but Jessica had always waved it off. "It's just Silicon Valley, Dad. High risk, high reward." I had believed her. I had always believed her. "Now look at their evidence," David said, his tone dripping with contempt. He showed me a series of photos. One was of me at a Gelson's market, looking at a wall of olive oils. The caption, written by Brian, read, "Subject appeared confused and disoriented in the grocery aisle for over 10 minutes. I was looking for the specific brand Eleanor used to buy." Another was a note from their family doctor, Dr. Miller, stating I had seemed withdrawn and forgetful during a physical. I had just donated a wing to the hospital in Eleanor's name and was emotionally drained. "They've been building this case for at least 9 months, John," David explained. "Every moment of grief, every instance of normal aging, every minor forgetfulness has been documented, twisted, and weaponized. This dinner tonight, I suspect they plan to have you sign a durable power of attorney, slipped in amongst routine estate paperwork." The betrayal was so profound it felt like a vacuum, sucking all the air from the room. My own daughter. The little girl I taught to ride a bike on this very driveway. She was orchestrating my financial undoing. What's the plan, David? My voice was a low growl, the shock now fully metabolized into a cold, focused rage. We fight, and we fight to win. First, you start a journal. Today, I want a minute-by-minute account of your day, demonstrating your cognitive clarity. You do the New York Times crossword? Time it and log it. You're reviewing financial statements? Log it. Second, you will undergo a full neuropsychological evaluation with Dr. Amara Singh at UCLA. She is the best and completely independent. Third, and this is the hardest part, John, you must act normal. You cannot let Jessica know we are on to them. If they get spooked, they might file an emergency petition, and the situation becomes 10 times more dangerous. The next 2 weeks were a surreal dual existence. By day, I was the meticulous subject of my own defense, journaling and acing cognitive tests. Dr. Singh declared my mental faculties superb for any age. By night, I was an actor on a stage, fielding calls from a daughter who was now a stranger. Her voice, once a comfort, was a source of visceral pain. Dad, I'm so sorry about dinner. Lily spiked a fever. How about this weekend? And hey, Brian found a fantastic estate attorney we should all sit down with. Just to get everything aligned, you know? The audacity was breathtaking. The hearing was days away, and she was still trying to manipulate me. That sounds lovely, sweetheart. I lied, the endearment like acid on my tongue. The breakthrough came from an unexpected savior, my 16-year-old grandson. Kyle, he showed up at my door on his electric skateboard, his face pale and his hands shaking. Grandpa, he whispered, looking over his shoulder as if he were being followed. I did something bad, but I think it was right. He shoved his phone into my hands. I recorded them. Last night, with a trembling finger, he pressed play. The voices of my daughter and her husband filled my study, their tones cold, strategic, and utterly foreign. The hearing is next Thursday, Jessica's voice said. David Chun is sharp, but we have Dr. Miller's statement and all the photos. The judge will see a clear pattern of decline, Brian's voice chimed in. And even if he fights, the legal fees will bleed the estate dry. By the time it's over, there might not even be much left to fight for. Once we have control, the San Marino house is first on the block. That alone clears our debts. Then we can restructure the portfolio. We'll be set. A pause, then Jessica, her voice lower, more chilling. We'll find him a nice place in Pasadena. Assisted living. He'll be comfortable. He probably won't even remember the difference in a year or two. Kyle was crying silent, angry tears. They were talking about you like you were a business transaction, Grandpa. Like you were already gone? I pulled him into a hug, my own eyes stinging. This brave, moral young man had just risked his relationship with his parents to save me? You did the right thing. Kyle, you did the most courageous thing I have ever seen. I called David immediately. When the recording finished playing, he was silent for a long moment. John, he finally said, a new, fierce satisfaction in his voice. This is a smoking gun. This isn't just a defense anymore. We are going for the throat. We're filing a cross-complaint for financial elder abuse, fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The day of the hearing was a blur of polished wood and solemn faces. The Los Angeles courtroom felt both immense and claustrophobic. Jessica and Brian sat with their lawyer, not meeting my gaze. Kyle sat beside me, a solid, defiant presence. Their lawyer presented his case, painting a picture of a doting daughter trying to save her addled father from ruin. He presented the photos, the doctor's note, the curated narrative of my decline. Then David stood. Like a master sculptor, he chipped away at their false edifice. He entered Dr. Singh's report into evidence, a document that utterly obliterated their claims of incompetence. He systematically explained every piece of evidence, revealing the truth behind the manipulated moments. And now, Your Honor, David said, his voice resonating with purpose, I would like to present the true motivation. Behind this petition, he played the recording. In the hushed courtroom, the voices of my daughter and son-in-law laid bare their entire scheme. The cold calculation, the discussion of selling my home, the callous mention of assisted living, it hung in the air, toxic and undeniable. Jessica's lawyer jumped to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. This was an illegal recording. It's inadmissible. Judge Isabella Rodriguez, a woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for no nonsense, fixed him with a steely gaze. Counselor, we are in a conservatorship hearing, not a criminal trial. My primary duty is to determine the best interests of the alleged conservatee. The motivations of the petitioners are highly relevant, overruled. She turned her gaze to Jessica. Miss Carter, would you care to explain this hypothetical conversation about liquidating your father's assets and placing him in a facility? Jessica stammered, her face a mask of panic and shame. It was just financial planning, Your Honor, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario? The judge repeated, her voice dripping with skepticism. It seems to me the only worst case scenario here was the one being engineered for. Mr. Carter, she dismissed the petition with prejudice, issued a permanent restraining order against Jessica and Brian, and referred the matter to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. She also ordered them to pay all my legal fees. In that courtroom, I wasn't just a victim seeking justice. I was a man reclaiming his entire life. As the bailiff called the court adjourned, Jessica finally looked at me, her eyes pleading. Daddy, please. You have to understand the pressure we were under. I looked at the woman she had become, a stranger wearing my daughter's face. I do understand, Jessica. I understand that you were willing to bury me to dig yourself out of a hole. I understand that your mother would be heartbroken. I turned to Kyle. Let's go home. Kyle moved in with me the following week. His parents, in their fury and humiliation, had told him he was no longer welcome. My large, quiet house in San Marino suddenly had life in it again, the sound of a skateboard in the driveway, video games from the media room, and the earnest silence of a teenager doing homework at the kitchen island. We built a new routine. I taught him how to manage a portfolio. He taught me about the music he loved. We traveled together to the Grand Canyon and to Italy, creating new memories to overlay the painful ones. Months later, David called. Facing the recording and the prospect of a criminal trial, Jessica and Brian had taken a plea deal. They pled guilty to felony financial elder abuse. They received probation, were ordered to undergo community service, and would carry the stain of a felony on their records for life. I hung up the phone and looked out at the garden, where Kyle was reading under the old oak tree. The victory felt quiet, solemn. I had lost a daughter, but I had gained a deeper, more honest relationship with my grandson. I called David back. It's time to update my will. David, everything, the house, the trusts, the investments goes into a new trust for Kyle's benefit. Jessica receives nothing. Not a single share of stock, not a single piece of furniture, and I want the will to explicitly state the reason why, detailing her actions, so she can never, ever contest it. Are you sure, John? That's a final door to close. I've never been more sure of anything, I said, my gaze still on Kyle. She didn't just try to take my money. She tried to take my personhood. That is an unforgivable debt. The story of Jessica's betrayal is a scar I will carry forever. But it taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Family is not a title bestowed by blood, but a bond forged in loyalty and respect. It's about who shows up for you, not who shows up for your assets. My legacy is no longer a collection of properties and stocks. It's the young man of integrity in my garden, and the unshakable knowledge that even at 70, I had the strength to fight for my own story and win. If you believe in standing up for what's right, please like this video and subscribe to Wines of Thought for more powerful stories of truth and consequence.